everyone, welcome back to Poppin In with Alexa and Molly. I'm Alexa.
I'm Molly.
And this week, I think it's mostly things that we have watched.
Yeah, well, kind of.
People, places, things.
Kind of. But
instead of popping in, we're peeping Tom.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Okay. I take it back.
That's a crime, but...
Yeah.
Did you know that's, actually a crime?
Yeah, I did know that. Not from, experience.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did find out the hard way.
Just been in the bushes a little bit. It's fine.
Call it that, though. I find that funny that it's, the actual name.
I'm curious. I want a biopic on the original Tom.
Yeah, it was Tom. Why is it called Peepin' Tom?
Yeah, he's a peeper.
Peepin' Tom.
What's that British show? It's Mr. Peepers Poppers or something?
That's never... Mr. Popper's Penguins, maybe?
Maybe. There's something about peepers. It's British.
Peaky Blinders?
No. It's I think it's a kid's show. Anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about.
We're here to actually talk about Severance.
Yeah, but we're here on this holiday weekend on Martin Luther King Day is what we're recording. When you guys hear this, it'll be in the future, but our past.
Yes.
Yeah, so, we're going to talk about Severance. I am so excited.
Okay, so we have waited 3 years for this.
Has it been 3 years? So here's the thing.
Well, I watched it later, I guess, than when it came out. But
So I watched it when it came out. So last night, Chris and I watched it, but we watched the last episode of the first season to kind of which we learned from Squid Games we should do because when we were watching Squid Games I was like, who are these people?
It was a pretty thorough at least for Severance, it was a pretty good previously on.
Yeah. Well, I realized I was like, I actually didn't need to do that for Severance. I've watched all of Severance 3 times.
That's crazy to me, by the way.
I love Severance.
So
the more you watch it, it's definitely one of those Easter egg type shows where you're just
for sure. I would love to rewatch it now. I just hadn't I watched it once and I just was kind of like, wow, that was so good. And unlike Succession or whatever, I haven't had the urge to rewatch it. Maybe because it's almost so heavy and kind of crazy that I just am like, I'm good. But
I think I rewatched it
now
because
I want to.
It's I watch it the first time I watched it was with my mom when it first came out. And I'll be honest, I didn't like it at first. It was 2 or 3 episodes in, I finally was like, oh, this is good. I like this.
Yeah.
But then it's I rewatch things when people, I recommend it to people and then they start watching it. So then I'm like, well,
then
let me take a rewatch. So I've watched it with Chris and then I rewatched it another time after that. So when Chris was like, yeah, we should refresh on the last episode, I was like, sure.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, I really need that.
Yeah, I definitely.
I didn't just rewatch the whole thing yesterday.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the new season of Severance just came out Friday.
Yeah.
On Apple TV. It's one of Apple TV's 4 shows.
Yeah.
That they didn't promote. They're so bad at marketing.
I think they promoted Severance more than they do most things. They did a lot of teasers.
Not until now.
Yeah.
So we'll get into this in a little bit, but I feel like Apple is notorious for not promoting their stuff well at all. To me, the only thing they really promote is Ted Lasso. And that's the only thing where it's they have so many good shows. Everyone would say this.
And I'll be honest, do they even promote it that much? I feel like it came out and then it was so popular.
Yeah,
they don't even need to do that much
Right, that's true. So they don't really just I don't know. But I will say, so the new season just came out on Friday, and it's been 3 years since season 1 premiered.
I didn't realize it had been that long.
I think so, yeah. It's definitely more than a normal amount. But I think it was pushed back because of the writer's strike, and there were just all these things that kept pushing it back. So it was left on the biggest cliffhanger. So it was super frustrating for people because it was just when is this show going to come out? And anytime Ben Stiller would do anything or Adam Scott would be in anything, everyone would be like, can you go back to filming set? What are you doing?
Yeah. And so I think what's interesting is Apple TV, they are notoriously bad about promoting their thing. And I was listening to this whole long NPR story about it, which I don't know the title or anything about it, but I'm sure if you just Google NPR, Apple TV, promotions, it would come up. And they basically were Apple TV has some of the best science fiction writing. They're putting millions of dollars into all of these shows, and you would never know.
Yeah,
you would
that's
never
what I'm
hear
saying.
about it.
It's not. But they did just recently do a really cool marketing thing.
Oh, yeah. I was curious about your thoughts on this.
Yeah, they had a pop-up in the middle of Grand Central Station of literally the cast of Severance. Adam Scott was in there. Patricia Arquette was in there. It was literally they had a glass case of their little office, and they were all just sitting at their computers for 3 hours while everyone just stood around them.
Which I thought was both cool, but also I was kind of that's crazy that these actors are like, yeah, let's be like a living museum type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it was such a, it felt very...
I thought it was cool.
It was cool. It felt dystopian in the same way that the show feels dystopian.
So
I love Ben Stiller being outside of it.
Like a dad, like
I think
a proud
he was, like,
dad.
wearing a mask or something, too.
Well, I saw a video of somebody else filming, but like, I guess Ben Stiller must have been standing right next to them, because you could hear, because he was just literally just with the crowd, just filming them like a proud dad, and somebody clearly... because Ben Stiller must have been next to the person that was filming this video, because somebody came up and was like, I love Zoolander, and he was like, oh, thank you. Yeah. You could just like hear that conversation.
He's like, this is my serious
He was like, these are my children.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just trying to film my children during their school play.
Which I'm curious, like, that pop-up, was it like Apple TV being like, let's promote it, or like the people on the show being like, we should promote this? Like, I'm curious.
No, it was
like,
definitely Apple, because and everybody was saying, like, wow, Apple is finally Apple, who is notorious for not promoting their stuff, did like the coolest promotion.
Yeah.
So it was definitely Apple, because they had like it was definitely Apple. I don't think the cast just showed up with the set.
It's just curious, like, I don't know, for me, I would feel like if I were one of the actors, I'd feel a little bit uncomfortable, because it does seem like you're like in a cage.
I'm sure they agreed to it. Not everybody, like, John Turturro was not in there, but it was like Adam Scott, who obviously plays Mark, Britt Lauer, who plays Helly, and Zach Cherry plays Dylan.
Okay.
And Patricia Arquette was in there too. And they were all like, it was funny because at one point they were just sitting at their computers. Again, they were doing nothing except pretending to like work at their computers. And Adam Scott, like, I don't even know if there was like a storyline necessarily, but like Adam Scott at one point like broke his computer, and like they were like trying to help him fix it. They were having to like do this and like,
I wonder if they like agreed to do that beforehand, or like while they were doing it, they're like, let's make this a little more interesting.
My question is, because it was a pop-up, they didn't tell anybody they were doing this, so people just were accurate, and I'm sure it like spread, like clearly like people were like, oh my god, like the cast of Severance. But I was like, how did they get into the case without anybody noticing? Like, at what point did they all just show up and just...
Maybe it was early morning. I feel like Grand Central must close at a certain time.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I didn't know. I learned like a few years ago that airports close. I thought they were open all the time. And they are not. So I imagine like
I know this stations. Because I'm actually very concerned. Like, tomorrow morning I have to fly out. And I am leaving, and I'm like, what if the coffee shop that I always go to in this airport is not open?
It opens, I think, at 6:30.
Are you serious?
I think. Like, sometimes I'll go there and it's not open, and sometimes it is, depending on, I guess, the time of day. I guess that's how things work. That's how time works.
My day has been ruined.
I have like three things to say about Severance in general. This isn't even about the new episode, but when I was watching the recap, or like watching the new episode, and I see Patricia Arquette, and I'm like, that is so crazy that is David Arquette's sister.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure.
I know she's Rosanna Arquette's sister. I'm assuming you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. It's crazy. And the thing is, I can see it.
They don't look anything alike to me.
They don't, but I can see it now that she's like a little bit older, and sometimes she does these like crazy Miss Cobell expressions where I'm like, I can see it in the eyes, like the David Arquette, like whatever. The second thing I was going to say is I remember thinking about this when we worked at the same company that we worked together, and we're in an office setting. And this is really what made Severance like hit for me, is like being in an office and then watching Severance. But also like the way they have their cubicles, like, because we went back to a in-person setting where it's like we're next to each other. And I'm like, I would really love to have like my personal space, but I don't want to sit in a cubicle all day. Their cubicles are great because they can like literally bring them up and down like a sliding window wall thing.
Yeah, but wouldn't that like, I feel like, wouldn't it hurt your feelings if somebody like did that? Like, imagine while you're trying to talk to them and they just go, I could see you doing it, because we used to sit across from each other, and you would have to be like, okay guys, going into my cone of silence, and you would just like put your headphones in to like lock in, and I'm like, I could so see you being like, Molly, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, but you would probably have to do it to me too. I'm a chatter. And that's why it happened to me. Our mutual friend, when I used to work at our mutual newspaper, I remember it was just me and him in the office, and I came in one day and he had put cubicles up that separated us, and he was just like, sorry, it's not like an offensive thing, I just need like space to work. And I was like 22 years old. I was like, okay,
just go die now.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go cry in the toilets. I'll be back.
That's my personal space.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. Like, he literally built like a whole cubicle like thing around both of us.
I know, the cubicle thing actually kind of creeps me out a little bit. Like, I don't think I would like it. Not just on Severance, but whenever I see it in shows or not shows, but like whenever I see like offices do that, I'm just like, that just seems weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I would like it.
I think it's isolating, but it's also just like good sometimes you do want personal space. Because it was lucky that like we were friends and like we enjoyed being around each other. But imagine if you're like in front of someone who you're like, they smell, or
Yes.
Like, you don't like them. Sorry, I just
smell.
Excuse me. That's my first thing. Is they are annoying.
Yeah. That's
because
true.
it did get to a point where it's like, you know, you have like assigned seats like you would in a classroom when you're in an office, and sometimes like people would talk about like reassigning seats and stuff, and it's the same thing when you're in high school. You're like, oh my god, who am I going to get stuck next to? Except it's worse because in high school at least you have different classes. At work you're just sitting there all day next to a person eating a tuna salad sandwich.
Ew.
That didn't happen. That's not like an illusion to anyone.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, can you imagine?
Yeah.
But anyways, oh, and my third thing is, Adam Scott, watching him act is fascinating. I would love to see what his skull looks like, because the shape of his face is so fascinating. The amount of times,
by the way, that you talk about people's skull, like specifically their skull, is so interesting to me.
Skulls are wild.
But what do you mean? Do you mean his brain or like literally his
head? The bone structure of his skull.
Why?
Have you, like, the way he talks, his mouth is so tiny, but his chin is, like, so angular.
And the thing
is, I love him, too. I think he's handsome, but he's also got, like, just the most interesting face.
He does. I actually don't. It's funny, because, like, I'm attracted to him on the show. I don't think that's his most attractive look. Like, we're staring at a picture currently of him right now up on the monitor.
He looks good with a beard.
He looks so good with a beard.
Yeah.
He's just so, I love his character on Severance, so I'm, like, attracted to him. I wasn't ever, because did you watch Parks and Rec?
I watched some of it.
Okay, he was on that show, and he was so good on that.
Yeah.
I never was, like, super attracted to him on that show, but, like, I don't know, something about his character in Severance, like, I love him.
He was
and
on
also,
Big Little Lies. I thought
Big
he was
Little
attractive.
Lies.
He had a beard in that, though.
He had a big beard.
Yeah.
And in real life...
Big beard?
Oh, my gosh, Alexa, there's this one movie that I've discovered. Somebody posted a video of it on X. I don't know why. I immediately just said X, which kind of bothered me.
I guess you're technically right, but
morally... It, like, bothered me that I immediately... morally, I feel
spiritually...
Gross. Yeah.
Ugh.
So anyway, somebody posted a video of him in this movie. It's called A Vicious Kind, and it's like I think it's like an independent film. Like, it's not. I'd never heard of it. It has him. It has like Brittany Snow, and he is so hot in that show. Or sorry, in that movie, he plays like kind of a weird, creepy guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I saw like a scene from it, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I just think he's a phenomenal actor.
He's in The Good Place. I forget who he plays in The Good Place. I think he plays one of the demons. He is in Big Little Lies.
He was in Ratatouille. He was not in Ratatouille. Okay, this is never accurate, by the way. We shouldn't even be looking at this.
I mean, some of it is accurate.
Some of it is just like...
We're looking at the
related
AI
stuff,
summary of his work.
Well, some of it is just like related stuff.
A lot
I think
of stuff.
the thing that most people know him from is Step Brothers.
Yeah.
That was like what...
Which I don't like Step Brothers. Oh, yeah, he is in Leap Year. He's Amy Adams' shit boyfriend who she's like, I gotta go to Ireland to get him to propose to me.
So I don't like Step Brothers either. I don't... Those kind of movies are just like not my humor. But I will say his scene from that is very funny.
Okay. Oh, yes. He plays like the brother of one of them, right?
Yeah, and he like they sing like... He's like an a cappella singer.
Yeah, that's right.
He is funny. But... Anyway.
Yeah. So... what really drew you to Severance? I'm curious.
Because it was, I don't know, 85,000 years ago that I first watched it.
Like, I don't even know who I was.
I don't remember why I watched it. Like, I don't know, did I know you then? Did you recommend it to me? Or did we talk about it after?
I think I definitely knew you. Because we've been friends for like 5 years.
Yeah, but I don't remember you, like, recommending it to me or anything. So maybe, because I remember, like, finding out that you watched it and being like, of course you watch it. But...
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like we both watched it separate of each other, then recommended it to each other.
Yeah,
and
we're like,
oh.
Yeah. So I don't know. So, but again.
And then we went on with our lives because we weren't that close.
So actually what probably really drew me to it was, damn. Because we actually fucking hated each other.
Well, there was like, we always started this weird part of our friendship where it was like we were friends, but not like we were now. Like, we would do stuff together, we would hang out, but we were just like casual friends. And now it's like, we're like best friends.
We live in each other's skin.
Yeah. We finish each other's
wine.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Espresso martinis.
Ooh, even better.
So I know what actually drew me to the show, other than like Adam Scott. I love John Turturro. Like, I am such a huge fan of his. So I think that's actually why I started watching it.
What is he from? I definitely have seen him in a bunch of stuff.
He
plays Irving in the show, if you don't know.
So what I like know him from, and I feel like I just remembered a story you told me.
Wait, what?
I'll tell it in a second, but I just remembered. But I love Oh Brother Art Thou was like one of my favorite movies.
Oh yeah.
And I know that you like it because he was in it. So
Who does he play in it?
Pete.
Give me a quote. Is he one of the brothers?
Do not seek the
That's
treasure.
him? Oh my god. Yeah. I guess because he's so much young.
So much young.
Thought you was a toad.
I just heard
Do
not you told me.
Seek the treasure.
You told me
this ain't your daddy. Your daddy got hit by a train. I did not get hit by no train. Sorry.
Said he's bona fide. I remember you telling me a story that you like loved the song from that, because like we both love the soundtrack because it's like a lot of like folk music.
Yeah.
And you told me the funniest story that for some reason it made me laugh so hard that I was sobbing, and it's not even that funny like when I think about it. But you told me that one time you were in school.
Yeah, one time I was at school, we were watching the movie, because we had watched The Odyssey. If you don't know, it's about the Odyssey. And they were, like, playing the song, and I was the only person who was, like, obsessed with this movie. So I'm, like, sitting there singing it loudly, but, like, you know, the movie's playing so you can't hear me, but then it glitches. And it's just me in 9th grade singing In Constant Sorrow in front of my class. And then it, like, comes back again and everyone's just staring at me. And like once again, I did not have a date to homecoming that year.
It's just so funny that it was.
This is the same year I was a Scrabble board.
I'm laughing as hard as I did the first time you told me.
In constant sorrow.
The fact that it got silent.
Because everyone's so like funny. Watching the movie or they're on their Motorola Razors.
What's actually making me laugh is the fact that you were singing out loud with the.
Because I was movie. Like, I was a weird kid where I was like, yeah, I know this song.
Oh, I love that song.
Yeah, but I'm sure you still probably wouldn't sing it out loud in your English class.
Yeah, that's like what makes me laugh is the fact that like during the movie you were singing out loud and then it got quiet.
But no one could hear it.
It got quiet. I bet people could hear it. But it got quiet and it's just you.
People are just like, okay.
Anyway, that's probably how I knew him when I was like 5.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was him. That's crazy.
He was so hot when he was younger too. Like not in that
movie. He's hot in this.
Okay, in this last episode, there was like a scene where I was like, oh my god, he got really close.
I think the way he talks too.
It is. I love. He's like fully. I was like, he has the most New York voice I've ever heard, and I looked it up, and he is like very much from New York.
Oh, what does that even mean?
Well, he's like from a certain
spawned from
he's like born in like a certain neighborhood in Queens, and like he's from an Italian family, and he went to Yale. He's like super smart, and like like he got like his master's of. I like fully stalked him the other day.
Okay.
But I'm such a fan. Anyway, that's like why I started watching it, and then I just got really into the story. But I'm like you, where it took me a minute, because like even when I would think about it after, I was just like, you know how you said that you used to say you thought about Severance like once a week?
Yeah.
I was not like that. And then when the second season was coming out, I was like, oh yeah, I loved that show. Let me like get excited about this new season. I didn't go back and rewatch it, but now I want to.
I think the first few episodes, because the thing is, the town that they live in, I think the town is called Kier, which is crazy. If you don't know, is like the name of the guy who like, it's kind of confusing. It's like the guy who invented the company, but they treat him like a god. Like they literally say like, thank Kier that I survived, blah, blah, blah. So that's the name of the town. They're in, Pennsylvania, and it just is so dreary, like everything, and then the office space is very dreary. There's nothing there, so I think sometimes like in the first episode or two it just felt
weird.
Yeah, it just felt weird.
It's a very much a sci-fi show, but also not, like it's not enough that because I'm not a huge sci-fi person, but I think it's more than just sci-fi. But I will say, because there's also like some comedy mixed in. Yeah, it's got comedians in it. Which you don't
realize. I think like I didn't pick up on a lot of the comedy until I like on a rewatch, because you're just kind of like trying to figure out what's going on.
Right.
Like it's such a unique concept, and it is very serious, and I think it is very like societally interesting.
It is. Well, and that's why I thought that pop-up was really smart, because it was sort of like fit into like what was happening. Everybody's just like, they're just like in the middle of everybody's watching them. But okay, so we should say, for those who don't watch Severance, we don't want to isolate you guys like from this episode. So do you want to explain what the show is about?
I was literally telling someone the other day, I was like, it's so hard to explain.
I think, just like a surface explanation.
It's basically, like, Adam Scott is the main character. He goes into an office where it's like he has an implant in his head that when he goes to work, it's basically like he can't remember who he is outside of work.
Yeah.
And when he is outside of work, he doesn't know who he is or what he does inside of work.
Everybody who works
they're literally
there.
severed from that part of their mind.
Yes.
And they realize, like, hey, eventually they realize, hey, there's some things that are going on that are weird. And also, like, when you retire from the job, it's basically like, they call it an innie versus an outie. An innie is who's in the office. It's like, oh, they are like, hey, when I retire, I basically die. Like, all of my consciousness, who I am. And it is like they are the same person, but you can even tell when he goes into an elevator, and that's when, like, this, like, ding happens, and he switches from innie to outie, and you can see his face literally change.
Yeah. And it's not, so that he is the main character, but I would also say, like, the other main character is a character named Helly, who she comes in, so she's, like, Adam Scott and everybody has already been working there, and so she's the one who kind of comes in and is like, what? Like, where am I?
Yeah.
And so she's, like, learning about it, but she's sort of the one who, like, I don't know if, like, she starts the rebellion necessarily, but she's the one who's just like, this isn't normal. Like, we shouldn't be doing this.
I think she is the spark, for sure.
Right.
She makes Adam Scott's character, Mark, kind of think, like, yeah, this is weird.
Yeah.
And, like, it's, like, these weird things where what I love about it is they do really play on corporate life, where it's like, oh, you hit your quota, so we're having a waffle party.
A waffle party,
Or it's like, oh, you get, like, this etched, like, glass thing as an award for something. It's just a picture of your face.
The waffle party is, like, my favorite scene from the first
when
one.
Milchek is, like, dancing behind Dylan.
Milkshake.
Yeah, Milkshake. Which I think Milchek...
That actor is really good, too.
His name is Tremel Tillman.
I don't think I've seen him in anything.
I don't think so either, but I was literally... So in the first episode, this isn't like a spoiler, but he's just like running through a hallway. And I just said to Chris, I was like, his casting is so perfect. He is so good in this role. The way he plays, like, in the first season, it's kind of like almost, he's like a manager, but it's like almost like a security type guy. And he plays like, just his micro expressions are amazing. Yeah.
Well, he's like literally like, he kind of like micromanages them.
Yeah.
Like if you were to say like what, because he's like super creepy, but he's like very he has that like surface, like he's so friendly and nice, but then it's like, you know, there's like something ominous.
Yeah.
Like,
and like
on.
the people doing, so like it's like him, Patricia Arquette's character, and like a few of the others are not severed. So they are on this floor, they are managing the severed people. And I think it's interesting, even the people, when they're severed, they don't really know what they're doing for work. Like, Helly's character comes in, and they basically are trying to explain, like, what do we do? And it's organizing these numbers into a bin. She's like, well, how do I know which ones to organize? And they're like, you'll just feel it. Like, there are certain numbers that make you feel, like, kind of afraid. And she's like, well, what is this doing exactly? And they, like, have all these, like, theories where he's like, I think we're like doing like organizing arms things for like Russia, or I think we're doing whatever, but none of them actually know.
Yeah. And they do this all day. Like they do that for 8 hours. Thing is, it's like, it's an interesting concept because again, it's the idea of like, it's the idea of like a work-life balance almost. Like you can just kind of forget about work when you go home.
Yeah.
But the
people who are at work never get to leave.
Right.
Because they go into the elevator, the ding happens, you become an outie, but they don't know that. They're not experiencing that consciousness. And they've said, like, in the first season, they're like, yeah, like, I assume I had a nice weekend. Like, I'll come in and sometimes, like, this feels like I've been sore from exercise, or, like, you know, like, I've gotten a haircut or something. But they don't know.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to ask, I'm curious what the numbers are, or, like, the rating for this show is internationally, because I feel like it's very distinctly American in our relationship to work. I feel like Europeans would watch this and be like...
They'd be like, well, we clock out at... We take 3-hour lunch breaks and we clock out at 4 p.m.
They'd be like, why do you care this much about work? Ew.
I'm so jealous of their work model.
I am so jealous of it. I'm like, should I move there?
No, sometimes it does make me angry.
And I forget, it was, I think maybe it was Kristen Bell or someone, where she was talking about, she was like, yeah, it is like when you film, like we were filming in Italy, she was like, it is definitely a distinct difference where it's like, oh, they will show up at like 10 a.m. And then, you know, they take like the 3-hour lunch and they're just kind of like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? But like Americans are like, go, 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 go.
Right.
We have to get this done. Productivity. Capitalism or die.
That is true. That's a good point. I don't know internationally. I will say, I think the show, if we're going to talk about like ratings, I think the show probably didn't do quite as well like when it first came out, but then it built. Yeah, because I didn't watch it when it first came out. I think it was word of mouth. Because again, Apple doesn't really market their stuff very well.
I remember, like, I watched it when it first came out just because my mom and I would, like, watch a lot of TV, and I was just like, let's preview this, and we were like, well, whatever, we don't really get it, like, the preview is weird, but let's give it a try.
Yeah.
And I almost gave up on it. I really, like, after 2 episodes, I was like, I don't really care about this, and then I was like, oh, we're having a waffle party? Okay, well, now I'm down.
Hell yeah, and there's, like, a threatening aura, because it's almost like, I mean, it's not like a horror show or anything, but it is very, like, it's super dark, it's very... It's very intense, like tense and just like
it's
creepy.
Uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. It reminds you of like how I feel like about a Black Mirror episode.
Yes, it does feel like.
It reminds me a little bit of. I mean, I guess multiple episodes could feel this way, but it reminds me of USS Callister because of the idea of like they're always in a thing, but then they're out. Like they kind of have like that episode has like sort of innies and outies or whatever when you think about it.
I just think it's a brilliant concept to really like kind of analyze American work-life balance and culture. Yeah. I think it's brilliant. And I think like the things that they do, it does feel very cult-like, but it also feels cult-like as it would at a company. Yes. You know, where it's like, oh, this is our founder and like these are our principles and our bylaws. Like here's like you get like corporate swag, congratulations. But and I was thinking about it, you know, they get really excited for like, oh yeah, I've gotten like you know, like I get like the company they work for, it's called Lumen. He's like, I get the Lumen, what do you call it? Like a finger trap thing.
Oh, yeah.
And they're really excited about it. And you think like, gosh, like why would you be excited for that? And I think they don't have anything. You look at their desk, the only thing they get are the things that are given to them when they're in this space.
Yeah, it's like a really creepy room where if you don't watch it, it's like almost like like isn't it like all green, like a grass, like
the floor is like, green. Yeah, the wall is like it's very corporate. Yeah. It's very dead. There's only 4 people in this giant room. Employees. All the walls, like you can go down a hallway and all the walls are white. I was telling Chris, I was like, how does anyone know where they're going ever? There's no signs.
The first episode of the new season, Adam Scott is like running through the halls. It like opens with him. He's out of the elevator and he is like running through the halls and the music is cool. And like, I was thinking though, I'm like, I wonder if like they had like a director shouting at him when to turn because you would not. It's just like white halls. It's like you have no idea when to turn. There's no signs or anything. So I'm like, how did he know like when to turn?
It's probably like if you turn to the left, it's just an open set, you know. But also we should say there's probably gonna be some spoilers for like the first episode if you haven't seen it. As we're getting into it. What we just said isn't really a spoiler. It's literally the first scene.
It's just the first scene. And also it's on YouTube. It's like so whatever.
Oh shoot, I was gonna say something. But I think that is like very reflective of corporate life where it's like, oh yeah, we've given you like a desk in your space to work, but it all feels very clinical. Yeah. And I just think it's such a great representation of that. But I am curious. So we didn't do a question of the week, but I have a question for you. So
I wonder if we have the same question because I was going to ask you a question as our question of the week.
So to give the premise, so when Adam Scott's character Mark comes back to, it's like in the last season they've done this uprising where they have been able to become outies, but while they've taken their innies.
Yeah, they've like manipulated it so they can like tell their outies what's happening.
Yeah, basically. And then the last scene you see is like this big cliffhanger, and it picks up with Mark's character. He gets put into this new team of people, and they're complete strangers. And
which was funny because I like the 2 of the actors I recognized. Yeah. Wait, who were they?
Actually? It's what's her face from Search Party and Arrested Development.
And then the guy is just like I just see him in so many things. Yeah. I thought that was funny.
It's been 5 months, so they all know about, they call it the macro data uprising, which is what like his department does. And so they're like, oh my God, like what was it like on the outside? And he was like, I don't know, I like saw my brother-in-law. And the one girl goes, brother-in-laws, really? Like we made a list of what we would want to see on the outside. Brother-in-laws was not on there. There's the sky. She was like, what does a breeze feel like? Is it just like a tickling of breath or something? And I'm curious, if you were an innie, what would be on your list of things you would want to see on the outside? Like,
okay, that wasn't going to be my question for you.
Oh, so at least we have 2 different questions. And this is a question for you all as well. Yeah. You've never been outside. Your whole life is inside this corporate office. I don't know my answer either, so I should be thinking about it.
I feel like my answer would be like, because the thing is, it freaked me out when she asked that because I was like, oh, I guess I wouldn't know what like air feels like. Yeah, so I guess I would just want to know what like outdoors feels like. Yeah. You know, like I don't know if I have like a really interesting answer to that. Yeah. I guess just like the sun. Well, the thing is, I guess, how do they have like access to the sun?
They don't.
Yeah.
So just maybe their Audi does. Yeah.
Or rain.
Yeah, I would want to know the sun for sure. Because currently we are in a bleak time of year and it's awful without the sun.
But like they don't know what rain feels like either. It's weird.
No.
I mean, I don't really like the rain. So I guess like sun.
Yeah, I think like sun. I think like a nap. What would it feel like to like actually? Because they've said like on the first season they're like, I think I got a good like night of sleep because I feel refreshed when I'm here, but I don't actually get to experience it.
Do you think they go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
So my question with that though is like, how do they eat? Like, where do they? I don't know. Maybe they show this because again, I don't remember the first season. But like, do they pack lunches for themselves? Like, when do they eat?
I think they either provide lunch or pack lunch. I can't remember, but they do eat. Remember. Yeah. Because they have like the vending machine. Where it's like, you can get like random crappy food, which again is very corporate life. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, like we have stuff for you, and it's just like, oh, this is a bag of peanuts, thank you.
Yeah.
I think mine would be the sun, which is such a crazy thing to say.
Yeah.
Or a nap, like the joy of like laying down after being very tired.
I'm surprised you're not saying. I feel like dogs.
I was gonna say that, but I'm not sure like I would care that much as an. Like as an outie, yes, I'd be like dogs, pets, and I was actually thinking, I'm like,
they've never seen animals.
Lumen, the company, tries to act like they care so much about their employees. I'm like, they need to bring in some therapy pets.
But how would the therapy pets go in? Because I feel like that would like.
They also have innies and outies, and the dog is just like, what? Where am I?
Can you even go through it without the chip? You know what I mean?
I think you can, because that's what.
Do.
Yeah,
okay,
they'll check and. Cobell and whatever do.
Well, my question for you was going to be, would you do it? Like, would you be part of this?
Oh, okay, I was going to ask you that as well.
Yeah.
No. I think, well, here's the thing. I'm saying no, but I also know all the drama and all the, like, issues that come from...
So, like, if you didn't watch it as a show and you just were, like, this concept, I guess.
Yeah. I think what would scare me is the fact that it is irreversible. You can't get it taken out.
What would scare me is not knowing what happened to me on the inside or the outside. Yeah. Well, the outside I guess I wouldn't care about, but like the inside, like somebody brought up, they were like, what if like, what would freak me out is like, what if you got like pregnant? Like if, as an outie and you just were like, realized you were like, Annie was pregnant.
And I think there was something where it's like they found out that maybe that had happened at one point or something like that, or like a sexual assault had happened or whatever, because it's just like you're not... And it's interesting because there's a relationship between Mark and Helly, but then, and this is a huge, huge spoiler if you haven't seen season 1, Mark's wife, who he thought was dead, he finds out is alive and is inside Lumen. However, she's like, it's almost like he's able to be like, yeah, but that's not my relationship.
Right.
Because he likes Helly, his outie was married to this other person.
Yeah. And Helly, so at this point, like when the second season has started, like they are like kind of in love and they like, love each other. And she's sort of, because this is funny. Mark didn't tell everybody about her. Her name is Miss Casey. Like the innie is not innie, but like the one that works at Lumen is called Miss Casey. And he realized at the very end of the last season, he like tells his brother-in-law like she's alive, whatever, his wife, because he thought she was dead. And so he tells, like, when he's telling, like, his coworkers, now they've all reunited, they're all back in the office. So he's telling the other three, like, yeah, Miss Casey is my wife. They, like, don't have a huge reaction to it.
Yeah, I'm like, that's the biggest shock of...
I know, because I'd be like, wait a minute, so they bring people back from the dead? Like, are they cloning people? Like, what's the deal here? My thing is that I'm like,
they, on the real world, have told everyone she's dead, and she's not, she's down here. Like, if I were an innie, I'd be like... Police! How would you get the police? But you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the crazy... But that's the thing I'd be most freaked out about is, like, are they bringing people back to life? Are they kidnapping people? Are they, like, cloning people? And so... And Helly does kind of... Because he's like, well, I really want to help her. Like, because he doesn't care about her like that on the inside. And that's what freaks me out is, like... He doesn't care about her like... He even says, he's like... Because he doesn't, like, care about her like he cares about Helly on the inside, but he wants to still help her because he's like, if she's here, I want to save her. And she's like, why? Like, you're not, it's not the same. Like, you're not really married to her.
Yeah, and I think her thing is maybe a little bit of
jealousy.
She likes
him. Yeah, that's what and so that was kind of her only, like, reaction, but I felt like they didn't have a big enough reaction to that.
Yeah, and so also, again, huge spoiler if you haven't seen the end of season 1, beginning of season 2, but so when Helly... gets to the outside, she finds out her name is Helena, whatever, Egan, she is the child of one of the CEO of the company, and she basically, that's why her Audi is like so awful to her, like, and again, this is a trigger warning, but when she's an innie, she tries to commit suicide, and her Audi is like, oh, your request has been denied. Like, you can't leave this place. And it's because she's trying to prove for the company that, like, yeah, Severance is great. Severance is an awesome thing. But she finds out it's like, oh, it's because she's the face of Severance now.
Yeah.
She is an Egan. She is a part of this, like, horrible thing. And they're all kind of recounting what happened while they were on the outside.
Yes.
And she lies.
And once they've all figured this out, like, because again, at the end of the season, they're all basically, they start this, like, uprising. Like, Dylan's character, he finds out, like, he has a kid and, like, all this. And so they, like, meanwhile, when the second season starts, like, they're all known for being, like, these big, like, they're famous now for, like, starting this revolution.
Yeah. Or at least he says they are.
Right.
He gives them a newspaper, but it's all redacted except for, like, the headline or something.
Yeah. By the way, I really love the name Helly. I think that's so cute.
That is cute.
I think, how did you feel about the first episode?
I think it was a good first episode, but it wasn't, like, I wasn't, like, riveted by it, but I think it was good because it's just, like, you're kind of resettling into the plot again.
I liked it. I think, also I was going to say, to answer, like, my own question, the only part of me that thinks that I would do it is because of the idea of, like, you never have to worry about, like, you just go into work and then you leave. And I kind of like that.
It's good for you as an Audi, but
it's good as an Audi, but yeah.
But the thing is, there's this whole scene in the first season where Helly's Audi is like, I am a person and you are not.
Yeah.
And Helly's like, fuck you, I'm a person.
The innie part would suck, which unfortunately they are the main characters.
Yeah.
But also it would freak me out not knowing what's happening to me as an innie. Like, I'd be like, well, am I doing something crazy? Like, is something happening to me in there?
In the first season, it's the first episode where Helly wakes up and she throws, like, the speaker at Mark, Adam Scott's character, and he has this big gash on his forehead. When his Audi goes out to his car, he gets a gift certificate to some restaurant, and they're just like, oh, your Audi had an incident where he, like, tripped over the projector or something, like, blatantly lying to him, and he's just like, okay, but it's like, you have a gash on your head. Like, when that starts happening, you're kind of like, but there's nothing to compare. Like, we as the audience know what really happened, but he is just gonna be like, okay, like, you wouldn't know. But I think, like, I have such a distrust of corporations in general that, like, first of all, I wouldn't do that because I have a distrust of corporations. Second of all, as soon as I started having, like, things where it's like I have a gash on my head, and I'm also curious, like, in the cases where it's like, oh, like, you know, you are pregnant from being on the inside, or, like, there was an instance of, like, sexual assault or whatever,
right?
I think you're, like, the body keeps score type of thing,
right?
Where it's like your Audi would kind of be like, something feels weird.
Yes. Well, and that's why I said the pregnancy thing, it, like, that would be, like, a really weird one. Yeah. Because, again, if you develop a relationship inside and then, like, but you don't know them, or, you know, whatever, like, you'd be freaked out. You'd be like, I'm pregnant.
Yeah. And, like, and so in the first episode, like, Milchek, so Mark gets reunited with his original team, and he gives them, like, the opportunity. He's like, you can either decide to stay or you can leave. Yeah. You know, but just let us know by the end of the day. If they decide to leave, it's basically like they're dying, because it's like they never return, their consciousness never returns, and it's not painful, it doesn't feel like anything, but it's just like they don't exist. So, like, even when Mark wakes up in the first episode, he's in the elevator again, 5 months have passed.
Yeah. He's
missed 5 months out in the world.
So that would suck, but, like, I mean, that would only suck for the innie if it was, like, about somebody else. So, like, say, like, a good friend of yours is leaving the job, you would never hear from them again. Right. That's freaky. But I don't think it would bother me as, like, the person, because I'd just be like, well, bye.
Which happens in the first season. I forget, what is his name? The guy who he leaves, he's, like, Helly replaces him, and he's the one who finds Mark on the outside. It's like Doug or something. Okay, no, that's this guy, but they don't even list his name. Well, anyways, there's a guy, like, in the first season, he works with Mark, and he ends up leaving, and they say nothing. Like, they're just like, oh, like, yeah, he was the manager, now you're the manager. He basically wasn't feeling well, and now he doesn't work here.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, these are the only people that these innies know. They spend their entire lives here with these 4 people every day, and now they're gone. Like, that's a huge thing. I also am curious, like, about the departments and stuff. Like, I love they did in the recap, like, the scene where in the first season, him and Helly are kind of, like, trying to explore the halls, and they walk in on this guy who's just feeding baby goats, and he's just like, they're not ready.
But the goat is I've heard a lot of interesting stuff about the goats, like, what that could mean. I don't know. I'm curious.
I need to get on Reddit for this.
Well, I'm not seeing on Reddit, just, like, Twitter.
Oh, yeah. But I'm curious also, like, when Mark joins this new team, it's clear, I'm like, how big is this building? Because they asked, there's, the Perpetuity Wing is a thing that it's like a prize. You get to go to the Perpetuity Wing. It's a recreation of the founder's house. And it also has, like, what do you call it? Like, statues or whatever of all the founders. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, do your statues move? And he was like, no. And she was like, that's crazy. Ours are animatronic. And, like, they move. And so then you're like, how big is this? Every department has their own, like, type of perpetuity wing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, ours is different from yours. But they don't get to, like, ask other people, so that's why she's, like, jazzed to, like, find out this additional information. I think it also goes to show that it's, like, such a good concept of utopia, because the thing is, the concept on the surface sounds great, and everyone on the innies, they all seem like they love their life at first, but then you have, like, one person who's like, hey, maybe this isn't normal, because it's not, and once you have, like, someone who doesn't fall in, one person questioning it, or who doesn't fall within the parameters of what you think, which is humanity and how it happens, that's where the problem comes in. And that's, like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm like, yes, you should be questioning it. But that's like, you know, you can't create a society or a system that fits everyone because everyone's different.
One thing I'm like, maybe they went into this more, but, like, what made Helly immediately not like it? And, like, what would have made the others not be like that? Because she was immediately freaked out and, like, trying to, again, like, you know.
I think Mark took it on himself. I think he felt guilty for it because it was his first time doing it. So he was like, oh, I didn't do it exactly as it said. But I think her character is just incredibly intelligent. Not that the others are stupid, but I think she has that background. And I do think that even though they have this separated part of themselves, I think part of it comes into play whether they realize it or not.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it.
I need to just rewatch the first season. I feel like that will.
And I think maybe there are other people who have the same reaction she had, but they don't include them in the program because they're just like, you're regular, we don't care about you. But they have to keep including her because of who she is on the outside. She's such an important person. That's what I would guess.
Yeah. So one thing I thought was funny was the little girl.
Yes.
So was she replaced, like, Miss Casey's character, basically, right?
I think so. Milchek got replaced.
He replaced
Miss Cobell. And then they have this, like, 12-year-old child who replaced him. And the whole time I'm like, I kind of want to punch that child in the face. She was him, yeah. But you can kind of see that she's suffering, too. Like, he kind of treats her poorly, and she's bored.
Why is she a 12-year-old?
Yeah, they keep saying, they're like, why is... And I will say, Dylan's character always has, like, the best lines where he's like, dude, why is she 8?
Yeah.
And they also make this new video that he's like, everyone who starts is going to see this video, and it's like a claymation. Of the macro data refinement uprising of them. And I love there's a scene where it's like, and it's about love, and it shows Helly and Mark kissing.
Yeah, and they're like, what?
Dylan goes, what the shit?
Yeah.
It's great.
You know what I loved about that? If you don't watch Parks and Rec, like, I don't know, but I just retweeted this because it made me laugh. But somebody was like, why is Adam Scott always, like, the center of an elaborate claymation scene? Because there's a funny scene from Parks and Rec where his character Ben, like, he quits his job, and so he's, like, kind of depressed because he, like, doesn't have a job, and so he gets really into making this claymation video. And he's like, would a depressed person do this?
Yes, I've seen that meme. I retweet that a lot.
Yeah, it's so funny. And because he realizes that he only, like, because a claymation video takes so much time.
Yeah.
He compared it to Avatar. And it's like 2 seconds of it. But it was just funny that there was also claymation.
He has a good face for claymation,
He's
too.
So funny.
He is. I love him. I think he also seems like the type of guy, like, yes, he's, like, very famous, but he seems like he'd be chill to hang out with. Like, he seems like a genuine person.
Yeah.
Nice person, you know? So I'm curious, like, do you have any predictions for this season?
I don't know. I feel like I'm not, like, I feel like I need to go back, because, like, you've been able to see all the Easter eggs from the first, like, by watching it 3 times. Like, you've been able to, like, go back and really, like, find all the Easter eggs, and I think I need to do that, because it's hard for me to make predictions when I, like, can't really remember the first season that well. Because I did watch, what really helped me was watching just, like, a really good, just, like, very simple recap of the first season, and it was enough to just help me remember, because, again, I hadn't seen it in, like, 3 years or whatever. It was enough to help me to remember all the main plot points, but I feel like it's hard to remember, like, little details that so I don't know about predictions.
I think it's really going to focus on getting Miss Casey.
I was going to say, Mark's where is Miss Casey?
But it's also hard to make predictions because in this episode we haven't seen their outies at all. So we don't know what the reality of the outer world is like.
So something there, I feel like there's going to be, like, another twist with that. But because you just said, and that's a good point too, is you don't really know, like, you just know from that photo in the newspaper.
Right.
Where do you think Miss Casey is, though?
So the next episode is called, I think, Goodbye, Mrs. What's her name? Selvig? So if you don't know, in the outside world, she pretends to be this woman named Mrs. Selvig, who is
his neighbor.
Yeah, who is his neighbor and the nanny to his sister's child. And
wait, that made me laugh, actually, because she was like, she's, like, obsessed with him. Like, and so they were like, I think she wanted to have, like, a threesome with him and the innie, like, the outie and the innie.
I don't know. I actually am curious why she decided to be obsessed with Mark, because it's very clear she is obsessed with the job. Because, again, this whole job, like, they have these, like, foundations of the company. It's like a cult. It sounds like a religion. And she literally has a shrine to it in her home. So then she gets fired, and she obviously loses her mind. And so it's like, you think that maybe she's been assigned to live next to Mark, and, like, that's what's going on.
Right.
But then you find out, like, no, she just did that of her own accord, and she shouldn't have been doing that. So I am curious. I don't think she wanted to have a throuple with him and his outie or any, but I do think, like, there's something going on there. And so I am curious to hear more from her.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, because she was not in the first episode at all. So.
Yeah, and I do think the fact that I think Dylan is going to betray the team, because you find out that they create this space where it's like innies can have family visitation, but Milchek says, hey, don't tell the others about it.
He's trying to turn him against them.
I think. He's like, they don't have family, so, like, this would just make them sad, which it's like, I'm sure even if they're single, they probably have siblings or, like, whatever.
Right.
But, and so I think he eventually, in order to, like, continue seeing his family, is going to betray them in some way.
And Irving. So Irving, in the last season, he ends up in a relation. They didn't show him in this, or they didn't show Christopher Walken in this episode, but Irving is, like, he and Christopher Walken's character kind of start a relationship in the first season, but then Irving realizes that in the outie world, Christopher Walken is already in, like, he's already married.
We're in a relationship or whatever.
And so he's, like, in this episode, it picks up with him, like, he's just, like, still upset about that. And so I'm curious to see where that goes, because he kind of seemed like he was, like, already.
Literally, like, and it's crazy because, again, so the last scene, like, right before they pop back to, like, being severed, he's, like, in the outside world, and he's like, burr, like, banging on the door. So when the elevator opens, again, 5 months has passed, but he doesn't know. So he's still being like, burr, like, on the elevator door until he realizes, like, oh, wait, where am I?
Right.
So I don't know. I am curious about his character. I found him, like, you're supposed to find him annoying in the first season a little bit, and then he kind of, like, comes around.
Yeah.
Because he's, like, very much a stickler for the rules, and he's, like, whatever. And then you're kind of like, okay, like, I love all of them, actually.
I do, too. It was, like, to the point where, and this isn't a good thing, but, like, at the end of the episode, it shows the 4 of them going back into their jobs, and they're all 4 together, and I was just, like, happy that the 4 of them are together again. But then I was like, well, no, I don't want them to be in this situation, but I'm also like, yay, they're all together again.
Because, again, there's no other option where it's like, oh, I can be unsevered and I'll have these memories in this person. It's like, they are now basically 2 separate people.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the idea of if you do make a clone of yourself, it's like, well, it's you guys are exactly the same for 0.5 seconds, and then you become individuals with different memories and different perceptions and whatever.
I wonder what my clone would be like. I hope she would have less anxiety. Like, she'd just be, like, a totally anxiety-free person.
Did you ever watch that Disney Channel original movie where they make a clone of the guy? And then it's like he melts or something?
I don't remember.
Let me hang on. The Other Me.
I don't remember that.
It came out in the year 2000.
So I was 4. I probably wouldn't have been watching that then.
And I remember because this guy is so weird looking.
Damn.
But he makes a clone of himself and to like do all his like chores and stuff. But
with all the twin, Pixel Perfect.
I forgot about. Oh, I love Pixel Perfect.
I love Pixel Perfect.
They have like a song in that when she's trying to be a rock star that I think is so cool. Also, what's his face from Phil of the Future? I always think is so handsome.
He changed his name too.
Why?
I think it's like a Hebrew name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he like changed his name. Also, this is random, but I decided on. I didn't decide on it. This is just like a Halloween costume I would love to do.
Okay.
I would love to do My Date with the President's Daughter with her wearing that pink dress. You know, the pink dress that she wears? Ugh, that's my favorite outfit of like all time from like a Disney movie.
Oh my God. What if I did
so
the
cute.
Other me and Chris is a clone of me?
It's just the two of you wearing boy clothes. Oh, like
or vice versa.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
gotcha. Well, you did do that for him one time. You dressed up as him.
Yeah, but that was a surprise.
That was funny.
That sounds weird. It was like not like a weird surprise. It was just at a Halloween party that he was late to. I forget what I told him I was dressing up as. Oh, I think I told him
it was my Halloween party.
I think I told him I was dressing up as Daria.
Oh,
which is funny because the next year I was Daria.
Yeah, that's funny.
But anyways, yeah. So I'm excited. I love Severance. I think it's one of the most unique, interesting shows I've ever seen. I think it's well done. I think, again, there's a lot of layers to it that you don't realize until you watch it a few times, and you're kind of just like, oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. I realized watching it, like, I love everybody in the show, but Helly, Britt, I think her name is Britt Lauer.
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't seen her in anything else.
I don't think so either.
I really like her, and I wish she was in more things if she's not. Unless I don't know, but...
She has an interesting face. Like, she's a good face pretty. To watch. No. Oh, she was in High Maintenance.
She was in an episode. I realized when I was watching it the other day, I was like looking her on Wikipedia, and she was on an episode of American Horror Stories, but that was it. And I remember seeing the episode and just being like, oh, why isn't she in more things?
Interesting. I think the one who plays...
Oh my God, she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Miss Casey.
Also, Miss Casey's first name is Signorina.
Oh, she's Australian. She to me has one of the most beautiful faces I've ever seen.
Yeah. She has like a very interesting face to watch. Yeah. Like the way, and that's what I think is good about all the casting is, again, like their micro expressions are really interesting and well done.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay. The things that she was in make sense. Altered Carbon, Dollhouse.
But again, I wouldn't take these because sometimes they're just like related things. Sometimes like you'll look at them and Zach Cherry I've seen in a lot of stuff. He's just he was in Succession.
Oh yeah, he was in Fallout. Who was he in Succession again?
He was the one that Roman ends up pairing up with at that
at the park.
The park thing, yeah. And they
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
He was only in one episode.
Yeah.
I think he was in an episode of Curb too, but maybe I'm wrong about that. He's a comedian, so he's just kind of in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But
I will say one thing that stresses me out about his character is his glasses placement. Every episode, his glasses are just like at the end of his nose, which to the point where I'm like, they can't be helping you see anything,
and they're gonna fall off and break. And then how is he gonna get access to glasses?
I don't know.
You could move yours back up.
Yeah. Like, it's just, just watching him. And I get, like, in the last scene, he has to, like, stretch his arms out each way to, like, hold these levers for them to be outies, which is very stressful. I'm like, for him to have been doing that for probably, like, an hour to, like, 30 minutes to an hour, that's hard. Mm-hmm. But his glasses are slowly sliding off. As someone who wears glasses, very stressful for me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, anything else?
I don't think so. Mm-hmm. I think we covered everything. But I'm excited for the new season. Like, it made me excited for Severance again.
Yeah.
Because I haven't really been thinking about it for a few years. So.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. And speaking of Apple TV, another show that is an Apple TV show that I don't watch, but you love.
Yeah.
Bad Sisters Season 2 premiered, and
No, the whole thing's out.
The whole thing is out. And, yeah.
I watched the whole thing. Sorry if you just heard a bunch of spit come out of my mouth. I did just spit a bunch.
I didn't notice.
Oh, well, I did. Anyways, yeah, so Bad Sisters, it's about these 5 Irish sisters living in Ireland. They're, like, on the coast, and in the first season, it's, like, and this is not a spoiler, it's in the first episode, one of them, their husband, is dead, and you find out that all the other sisters hate this guy. Like, they refer to him as the prick, and each episode is them, like, plotting to kill him and kind of, like, failing, and it's funny, and it's also, like, very dark, and it's, like, it's just very well done. Also, like, I love their house. Like, Sharon Horgan lives in this house. She's, like, the oldest sister that is by the sea. It is beautiful. They all, like, kind of, that's where they have family gatherings and stuff. But it's just really well done because you're kind of like the whole first season trying to figure out, how did he actually die? Did they kill him? Because the insurance investigators are trying to figure it out because they don't want to pay out either. Mm-hmm. Like, the police just think that it was like an accident. And so that's what they refer to it as the whole time. But in each episode, you're kind of going back in time and, like, figuring out, like, oh, why did they hate this guy so much? It wasn't that he was just annoying or whatever. Mm-hmm. He was, like, horrible to their sister who he's married to. Mm. And so the way season 1 ended, I really didn't think they were going to do a season 2. Like, I thought it was wrapped up pretty well, and I kind of was like, oh, are they just, because it had like got nominated for Emmys and stuff. Like, mm-hmm. It did. I would say it's like one of Apple's top shows for sure. And it's so unique, and it's just like female stories, and again, it's like funny but macabre in a way. And so I was kind of like, oh, they're doing a season 2. I was like, we don't need that, but I'm actually glad that they did. I really enjoyed it. So season 2 picks up a few years where season 1 left off, and I'm going to try to avoid spoilers, but I might accidentally say them, so just FYI, like, if you don't want to hear anything, like, you can fast forward a little bit. But Grace, who was married to the prick who mm-hmm. is now dead, is getting remarried, and they are introducing, like, a couple new characters, and you find out, like, oh, this guy is really nice, or whatever, and this is a huge spoiler, and it's in the first episode, but Grace ends up dying in a car accident.
The sister?
Yeah. And oh my God. It's, like, this whole thing.
Isn't she a main character?
She is, but there's also 5 of them, so I don't want to say, like, you can just get rid of one and it's fine. But it is very sad. And so they're trying to figure out, like, oh, what was going on? Like, you know, why did she have all this money with her? Who was she trying to pay off? Like, what was happening? And all of this stuff unfolds while they're, like, progressively trying to hide things from the police because they find out. I'm actually not, in case you watch it, I'm not going to tell you this mm-hmm. big spoiler, mm-hmm. but there is, like, this thing that they're trying to hide from the police that then now the police are doing another investigation because Grace has died, which is, like, kind of reopening parts of the first investigation. And meanwhile, like, her new husband disappears, but then he comes back, and it's just a lot of drama, but it's, like, it's actually well done. I thought, like, I was like, okay, where are they going to take this? And I was like, okay, like, this is, but it's also, like, situations like this always stress me out, too, where I'm like, I could not live like this. Like, that is such high anxiety. Mm-hmm. I would not, like, it's a thing, same thing when I watched that show Good Girls, which has, what's her name from Mad Men? She played...
Oh, Christina Hendricks.
Yeah, had Christina Hendricks and, like, there's a bunch of famous people in it, where they're progressively, like, partnering up with gangs, and they're, like, stealing all this money, and they're, like, so close to being, like, caught, where I'm just like, oh, like, the whole time it's, like, these normal people who are so
and they're
close
suddenly
to being,
becoming criminals.
Yeah, and, like, not on purpose. They aren't actively, like, I want to be a criminal.
Yeah.
And so, like, that gives me anxiety, but I think it was really well done, and there's even, like, parts of it, like, there's, like, a final scene where I teared up at the end. Like, it's very emotional. And it's very interesting. And, you know, there's this whole thing where Sharon Horgan, so she is the oldest sister of these 5 sisters, one of which is Bono's daughter. Not in the show, but in real life.
Yeah.
Eve
we talked about her on The Perfect Couple.
Yeah. And so their parents died when they were all young. So basically Sharon Horgan, like, raised these 5 sisters because she was, like, 20 or something when they died. And you can kind of see that, but also at the same time, in the first season, it's a whole plot where it's like she can't have children because of something that's going on. And so these are basically, like, her children, but she also, like, her and her husband divorced because she couldn't have children. And you just see, like, this deep sense of loneliness in her that is kind of filled by these sisters. And they have this really nice scene where it's like this whole thing where they go, it's called the 40-foot, where they go and they dive into the ocean together because they live, like, on the seaside. And they kind of go back and forth from, like, them as teenagers, like, laughing and, like, being in the ocean, and, like, them, like, as adults, and Grace isn't there. And it's, like, sad, but it's also, like, really sweet. And I think it's well done in terms of, like, processing grief, but also still keeping that, like, humor and, like, intrigue. And I just really like it.
I love a good comedy drama.
I highly recommend it. I gave, like, some spoilers away, but not, like, the biggest stuff. Like, again, those are things that happen in, like, the first episode.
Yeah. You have been trying to get me to watch it.
I have. I've been trying to get everyone to watch it. I feel like it's a popular show. Friend of the pod, Emily, shout out, watches it. But she's, like, the only person I know who watches it.
Yeah. Yeah, other than you, I don't think I actually would know about the show if it weren't for you. Because again, Apple doesn't market their stuff.
Yes.
If this were a Netflix show, I guarantee it'd be more famous. Like, I'll just say that.
Oh, absolutely. And, like, it's a phenomenal show. Again, it's very unique. I think it's based off of, like, a Danish show called Clan or something. Probably. That they redid. Or Swedish. I don't know.
Speaking of Netflix, I heard that apparently somebody who worked at Netflix said that they were trying to, like, somebody, like a higher up or whatever, told them that they are making shows where you can basically do stuff. Like, the point of them making shows at Netflix is for you to be able to do stuff while having the TV on.
I believe that's Emily in Paris.
That's their, like, level of, with respect to, like, other certain shows. Like, obviously there's still ones that are, like, good, but that's their quality. Like, that's their
and that kind of goes to show, like, and this will get into our next topic, but, like, even sometimes when you watch TikTok now, it'll be the thing where it's like a person's explaining something to you and it's a split screen, or on the other side of the screen, someone's like doing, like, they're like mashing up clay or something like that, like some kind of ambiguous activity, because it's like nobody has the attention span to sit there and watch anything.
And truly, like, I think TikTok has ruined everybody's attention span, because I mean, even if I go on TikTok now and, like, there's a video that's longer than, like, if I can tell it's a long video, if it's not explained to me in, like, 10 seconds, I'm just like, scroll. Like, I don't feel like listening to a long story
That's
anymore.
Also why Vine was great. But also, we have a mutual friend who will sometimes send us things that we're just like, this is so long to get to this, like, the point of this story. Or if it's supposed to be funny, I'm just like, I'm not going to listen to 30 seconds.
Yeah, but that's
give me,
how sad is that
roommates.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
How sad is it that 30 seconds is, like, is, like, too much for us?
Yeah.
Like, we're dumb now.
But also at the same time, like, there was, like, this whole New York Times article where they were like, Gen Zers trying to give up or smartphones or whatever. I'm like, no, they're not, first of all. But I can understand why, because I think about, like, most of my life I definitely didn't have a smartphone, and then I didn't have a cell phone, and it's like, what did I do with my time? I read, I watched TV, like, I did things.
If
like,
I don't have a video playing on my phone while I'm brushing my teeth, like, I will, like, freak out.
Really?
Like, yeah, but some of that comes, I will, in my defense, I guess, some of that comes from, like, living alone during COVID.
Yeah, I do think COVID really...
Yeah.
Side note, before we get into it, do we want some more wine?
I'll have a little bit more.
Okay. Molly brought this wine. It's called Monique. It has a beautiful M on it. It's a Sauvignon Blanc.
It is, like, definitely, I got it for the label. And
Say
also
when.
The price. When? Thank you. Also the price, because...
I was like, why'd she stop talking?
For the ASMR. Because Trader Joe's be having this $5.99.
Oh, yes. Okay, they have a John Handler Riesling. It has a little airplane on the bottle. If you like sweet white wines, it's like $5 or $6. Phenomenal. But no, so I think it's like, I don't think our attention span is there because of, like, TikTok and things like that, and just, like, cell phone stuff in general. And I don't, like, sometimes I get annoyed with the argument that, like, TikTok has ruined our minds because it sounds very, like, boomery, like, when my parents have been like, cell phones are bad for you. Yeah. But also at the same time, like, a friend of the pod, Tanya, always asks, she's like, well, what would you be doing if you weren't watching TikTok? And I'm like, I think I would have better hobbies.
I just found out for a day.
Yeah, I'm like, I think I would just actually do, like, if I didn't, and I'm not a big TikTok person, so mine is mainly just, like, social media in general. And it's like, I think I would have hobbies.
I mean, yeah, maybe. But I will say, so to get into, I think this transitions into our next topic, which was the TikTok ban that lasted for not even 5 hours. But basically, there was the whole thread of a TikTok ban, and it was all and let me say, though, a lot of people were concerned because their careers come from TikTok. Yeah. And I didn't really think about it until, like, maybe the day before, that, like, a lot of influencers were freaking out because they were like, well, this is our job. And Instagram is just not the same. It's not. And I felt that way for myself, because I know you were kind of just like, good, throw the whole thing away. And I was like, yeah, but some of us, like I find, like, TikTok does entertain me. I watch it, like, and I mean, I don't think I'm, like, addicted to TikTok or anything, but I definitely have things saved on there that's, like, I use, like, that's useful, it's, like, decorate, and just ideas for I don't use it for everything. I'm not saying it controls, like, I don't use it for every single idea that I need, but, like, I mean, something like I was actually concerned about all the things I had saved in there because I was like, well, I have a lot of
recipes or
yes, exactly.
how to fold a fitted sheet type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was actually pretty upset, and also it's just the idea of like, why are they putting effort into this when there's so many other things that could need to be changed? The whole thing was ridiculous.
It's all political propaganda of being like, Donald Trump saved
TikTok, and that's what happened. So
is the reason that we're here, but
yes, and so basically, TikTok on Saturday, it was supposed to be banned Sunday, which for us was yesterday, and Saturday night at like. Apparently it turned off 2 hours before, but I didn't notice until like 11:30. And I texted you and Megan. I was a little drunk, but I was so angry because I was just
I know, I felt that. I forget what I said, but I was like,
no, you were funny. You were like, but I literally, because, okay, I get on TikTok just out of habit. I got on and it said, sorry, TikTok isn't available right now. The message said a law banning Tell me how like unprofessional this message. It was so bad.
It was so bad. It literally was as if Donald Trump wrote it himself.
I know. It said a law banning TikTok has been enacted in the U.S. Unfortunately, that means you can't use TikTok for now. We are fortunate that President Trump has indicated that he will work with us on a solution to reinstate TikTok once he takes office. Please stay tuned. And it was just like the whole thing. I was like, I see right through this.
Yeah.
It's clearly like. I'm just going to say, we're not going to get into stuff too much, but I was like, what a stupid notification. This whole thing is for him to make a heroic effort to save TikTok once he's in office, and that's so embarrassing. I see right through it. And you were just like, he ain't fooling Molly. Like, it made me laugh. And then the next day, another text from me at 12:51 p.m. It's working again. Because I get on, and all of a sudden, it's just like working. Yeah. And I was like,
well, also, what? Like, a lot of people posted they'd sent another notification. It was like, thanks to Donald Trump.
The creepiest message again. It was such a weird message.
Yeah.
So I had already gotten on. It was kind of working. The videos were a little fuzzy, but it was like,
it felt very
working.
1984.
It did. And then I got back on like again later because I was like, okay, maybe that was just a weird glitch. And it like, because no one was talking about it. I swear I got on right when it was like reinstated or whatever. And there was a message that came up for everyone, I guess, that said, welcome back. Thanks for your patience and support. As a result of President Trump's efforts, TikTok is back in the U.S. And it was just like, what is this?
Yeah, like, way to just, like, really, it felt like political propaganda. Like, it actually really scares me because there's also that with, like, and the whole stuff with Meta this past few weeks, like, with Mark Zuckerberg basically taking out all of the fact-checking measures, and basically, like, if you read the article, like, he's taken out all of the diversity measures in his company. Like, it's crazy. It feels like we are living in a dystopian novel.
There's something really dark happening, and I feel like, because, like, I saw this I saw somebody say the other day, I think it was on Twitter, where they were just like, how do you stop from, like, panicking about where the world is going? And I felt like, I forgot, like, exactly what the tweet said, but it was basically, like, she was thinking about just, like, we're about to, like, the world is probably going to crash and burn because of all these technology changes and just, like, all these, like, just all this technology, just, like, weird stuff is happening. It just feels like the world is about to, like, crash while we're here. And people were like, I mean, to be fair, I think a lot of people felt that way in the, like, when the atomic bomb was, like, created or whatever. Like, I think, like, people have lived through a lot worse. Like, but I was like, yeah, but I see what she's saying.
Well, I was reading this article from the New York Times that I literally had to, like, close out my app because it gave me so much anxiety. It was an opinion piece. I forget the name of the reporter, where he was like, we're basically about to go into World War III. It will be a nuclear war, and most people only care that TikTok's going to be banned, and they're too distracted to care about it. And I literally just closed out my phone, and I stared at a wall.
I really wish you hadn't shared that with me.
And then I was like, yeah, I can't process this. Like, what am I supposed to do about it? I went out and I voted how I wanted to. I think it's very stressful.
It is.
And I think what's different also about, like, the time period of, like, when the atomic bomb came out, which, to be fair, very stressful.
Yes.
I would have panic attacks every day.
Yeah,
but you can escape that, you know? Like, we have a phone that we carry with us 24/7, constantly giving us news alerts and updates on the world and everything that's going on all the time, everyone's opinions on it, and sometimes it feels like a lot. And that's why I was like, I'm not a big TikTok person in general, but I'm like, let's do a little ban. I need to not.
Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, like, once we got it back, it's not like I was, like, rushing to get, I wasn't, like, you know, I'm not, like, addicted to it or anything, but I was just, like, upset. The idea, I was just like, what, how are they getting rid of, like, why? And then also just, like, I need, like, fun little video. What, am I supposed to only watch YouTube now? Like,
yeah.
But I was
Instagram Reels.
I was gonna say, like, it all kind of reminds me, you know how and you know this about me, like I freak out if people know something that I don't know. Like if they're like, if I feel like people are keeping secrets from me, and whether they're doing it to like make me feel better, I don't like that. Like I don't like knowing that like people are keeping something from me.
Yeah.
I feel like that happens to me a lot because I know, like, a lot of people know that I have a lot of anxiety. And so, again, like, I think it's all about, it's a good thing. Like, they're trying to be nice, but I think, like, everybody's just like, well, I didn't want to worry you. Like, that happens a lot in my life.
Yeah, well, before this, we were talking about when she was on her honeymoon and she sent a picture where she was like, hey, you guys think there's something up with my face? And you very clearly had, like, sun poisoning.
I had sun poisoning.
And all of us were like, no.
Yeah,
it's
and
not
Matthew,
that bad.
like, lied to me. And, like, again, like, and if
it
that
wasn't,
happens,
it was, literally, I was like, what is she going to do? She's about to get on a plane. Like,
yeah. Well, I said Matthew lied to me because he did. He fully was just like, yeah, you're fine. And I found out later, like maybe a year later, so that he was like texting a bunch of people to be like, is she okay? Like, what's going to happen if we get on this plane? Is her face going to like burst or something? But anyway, I just think, but that happens a lot where it's like people know that I have anxiety, so they just don't want to tell me stuff. That's how I feel in general right now, is like it freaks me out that a lot of people probably know things that are going on that we have no idea. Yeah. And that like really freaks me out a lot.
It does, but at the same time I don't want to know.
You just telling me that like did freak me out a lot.
I can't, like, when I think about like nuclear warfare or the fact of like just nuclear power in general, it sends me into a full spiral. Yeah. Like I don't have the capabilities to process that. And that is why I will never run for office.
No.
Just that alone.
Yeah.
No skeletons.
Nope.
No
skeletons
other problems
in this closet.
No. Just anxiety.
Yeah, just you would not want me.
Yeah.
Again.
When if we were flight attendants.
Well, I was going to say, and sometimes they keep a really straight face when they might be in their head panicking. And I'm like, you know what? That's good, though, because that's all I need is just for you to seem like everything's
That's why we always say we're going to try out for Pop Culture Jeopardy. It's like, I don't know if we could be on that show. All of us would just be like, beep, bah, bah. Like, they would have to censor us the whole time. Like, we would be sitting there trying to figure out an answer, and we would just be like, fuck. God damn it.
And it makes me laugh.
Get it together, you idiots.
At the end, when they're like one little thing goes wrong, and they all look so, they're not, you can tell they are, like, keeping it in. Like, they're probably so pissed at their teammates. If it were
Muni and Chris, we'd be like, like, I'm just picturing us, like,
I would not be happy for those other teams. I'd be so angry.
I would literally Chris would probably punch them in the face. He'd be like, God, get me off of this.
No, Chris, I think, would be good at hiding it. Like, he is, but I would be angry.
You've never seen him watch football. He's not good at hiding those types of competitive things.
I don't think he would let another, you know your fiancé better than I do, but what I meant was, like, I think he wouldn't let another team know. He would definitely get mad at us, but, like, I don't think he would let another team know. We're,
that like, all converging. Like, he's like, stop being so fucking idiot. Get it together.
He's like, no.
Yeah. To clarify, Chris is a very nice person. He is just incredibly competitive.
And also just, like, smarter than us, so.
Yeah, I will never admit that to his face, but yeah, he is one of the smartest people I know. Anyways,
that's why he would be in charge of the like
answering.
Answering, but also the coming up with the number.
Oh yes,
I don't even know the word for it.
Yeah, the calculations of the betting.
What do you call that? Like, what is the name for it? Whatever. Who cares?
Yeah, we're not in charge.
We're not there right now, so
we're just girls.
Yeah.
But anyways. Okay. Well, yeah. Oh, I was also gonna say I was gonna send this to you. I saw this thing thinking about the attention span thing, where it was like, you need to raw dog a movie. They were like, don't look up anything about a movie.
I know.
Put the movie on. Don't look at your phone once. No. Not once. The entire movie. Turn the movie off. Don't look at your phone. Go upstairs. Go to bed.
Can I say something about me that I cannot say for you or Megan? I do raw dog movies a lot. If I'm at the movies, I never look at my phone one time. I don't know if you do. Maybe you don't really, but I will say, like, shout out Megan, sorry, I love you, but like, she will literally go on her phone during the movie, and she has a protection screen, so she's not bothering anybody. But like, it bothers me because I'm just like, we're at the movies. Find out who's in this movie later.
Yeah.
Find out during the credits.
The only time I look at my phone is like when we saw that one movie and I was like, what is that? I was
like, yeah.
Or like when I had to pee, like during the Bob Dylan movie, I was like, if I go pee right now, am I going to miss the end of this movie? Or if like, I think I did it the other day because I was like waiting for the towing company to call me. They never did. But anyways, But otherwise, I'm not like, oh, I'm on Facebook or like I'm not looking at things on my phone. I'm not texting people.
Right. So I would say I do raw dog movies if I'm at the theaters, which I don't think a lot of people can still say for themselves.
No.
Like I think there's people.
It actually. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say people do go on their phones during movies.
It really annoys me how much people are on their phones. Nothing pisses me off more than when I'm like at dinner or something with someone. It's just the two of us and you're on your phone. You're texting people. Like one time, Chris and I got into not an argument, but I was like, let's go for a walk, and we went for a walk together. And he kept pulling out his phone and looking at Twitter, and I was like, put your phone away.
Yeah.
We're on a look at nature. He was like, okay, it's fine. He was like, what? I was like, he was like, I just want to be like, he's always like, I would just want to know what's going on. I was like, we're in for 30 minutes. Don't look at Twitter. He's addicted to Twitter, X, whatever.
Yeah.
And that and I think like a lot of people, and I'm also like this, like, when I'm watching shows at home, I do look at my phone a lot.
Me too, yeah.
And I try to like, unless I'm like really invested, which is why sometimes I do like Emily in Paris, where I'm like, this is just a dumb show. I can sit here and not really pay attention to it. But I don't think people should be actively creating content like that.
Well, I was making the mistake. I mean, again, like, so I do that at movie theaters, but I try to challenge myself to raw dog a movie at home or a TV show, because I'm like, it's so hard for me to do that, because I get on my phone. Like, it's so easy to just get on my phone, play Connections, or I'll like start to look up things. Because again, I was watching the first episode of the new season of Severance the other day, and I was like, I was missing stuff because I was like on my phone.
Yeah, I will say when Chris and I watch stuff together, because usually we watch stuff where it's like you have to be paying attention. So like I'm usually not looking on my phone, but when I'm watching stuff on my own, I'm like, I usually have to rewind a little bit to be like, oh, what happened?
Yeah. Well, Matthew, because I was going to say, he's somebody who does not raw dog a movie anymore. He will literally like be doing two other things while like he'll be like playing a game on his phone or playing a game on his laptop. And I'm like, but it's so weird because he's just really good at like multitasking. Like he always says that about himself, and it's true, because he'll pick up on things. Like I'll like, if I feel like he's missed something, if he's watching something for the first time, I'll try to explain something to him, and he'll be like, yeah, because she did this. I'm like, oh, so you saw it.
Yeah.
But I can't do that. If I'm focusing on my phone or something, I'll miss it.
But it used to make me so mad when my parents would be like, put your phone down, like whatever. Yeah. And now I definitely do that to Chris. Like we'll be watching something, if he's on his phone, I'll be like, are you watching it?
I know.
Like, do you want me to pause it? I'll do it passive aggressively. I'll be like, I'll look over, he's on his phone, I'm like, do you want me to pause this?
Yeah.
And he's like, no. And he just like closes it, and yeah. So I just feels very scary and dystopian over something stupid at like TikTok. But
that being said, it's back, but it's just so embarrassing that we all freaked out over it. And it
is embarrassing. Every time I saw it on someone's Instagram story, I was like, get over, like not get over it, but I'm just like, what are we doing? Or, let's look into this a little bit more. You know?
I mean, I did, to be fair. I was following all of the updates, and I was still in my head, I was kind of like, the timing of this is, I could see right through it, but I was also like, no, don't take it away.
Yeah. But yeah, so like speaking of, but the thing is, I feel like our society has had this kind of dystopian addiction to things for a little while. And one example, I think, is probably the Jerry Springer show, of which I think it was, I can't remember if it's Netflix or HBO, just came out with, I think it's a 2 or 3 part documentary on the Jerry Springer show, and it was good. I think it could have gone like more in depth, but I would recommend it. I think it was, I didn't usually watch the Jerry Springer show growing up, but Chris did a lot, but I saw like a lot of the clips, or like I would see that it was on, and by the time I was like aware of it, like I was aware that I was like, oh, this is trash TV. Yeah. And so they talk about how it started out, like Jerry Springer is just kind of like this nice little vanilla guy who was like a news anchor, and they were like, okay, like let's put him on a talk show. And then at first like was in like just normal, like, oh, like whatever talk show, and it wasn't getting any ratings. And then I forget his name, but the producer was like, okay, like let's amp this up, let's put some crazy stuff on here. And that's when you get like the episode where it's like, I married a horse. Or like,
or people confronting each other and fighting. Yeah.
And so they get into that. So eventually it gets to the point where it's like every episode there's a fight. Like Jerry Springer is known for being a talk show where people are getting physically assaulted on the show by the people on it.
And then at the end he would go, be kind to each other.
Yes, exactly. And there was even, I didn't know this, a murder that resulted of it, where it was like one of those episodes where it's like, you're sleeping with my husband, where this woman ended up getting murdered. She was like the guy's original wife, and they have her son come on and talk about it. And you can tell on the show, like, she didn't know that this is what it was going to be. She was like, I just kind of want to like talked to my husband. He was, I think, German, so they were like, they paid for his flights and stuff like that. And she was like, this is the only way I can do it. And then, like, they ended up murdering her. And she was like, there wasn't a fight on her show. Like, when she saw that was what was trying to, like, happen, she was kind of just like, no, like, I'm not interested, and walked off. But, you know, he had information from her, and they have other past, like, guests on who said, like, basically they were trained to do that. Like, before the show, they roll out the red carpet, they give you a limo, you get like this nice room, you're partying all night. Like, she was like, yeah, we were up doing Speed until 3 a.m. Then they bang on your door at 6 a.m. and they're like, hey, time to come on. Yeah, come on for the show. And beforehand, they're like running through it, and they're kind of like, yeah, you know, so-and-so says this to you, how are you going to react? And if you're just like, well, like, whatever, and they're like, that's how you're going to react? Like, they just told you that they're sleeping with your man. And so, like, they're egging you on. You've got no sleep. You've probably been drinking, maybe doing drugs or whatever. Then they put you on this TV show that's highly volatile. They're not telling you the full story of what's going to happen on it. And they basically, if there's not a fight, like, you've not done your job. And that's what the producers would say. Like, it's a daily show. They were like, you're having to find people to come on this show every single day.
That's so stressful. That's like journalism, but like...
Yeah. And they
harder.
were like, yes. And he was like, yeah, I would sleep in this one guy who actually, his dad was one of, like, the set designers or something on SNL, like, the original. And his dad, like, stopped talking to him because he was like, the content you're producing is trash.
Yeah, because it soon got to the point where it was just like, by the like later seasons, it was like, I mean, somebody would walk on and immediately attack the person. Like, that was just like, it was just known for, like, physical confrontations.
And the guy who produced the show, he basically said, he's like, I don't think anything's inappropriate for TV. He was like, if I had two people on there shoot each other in the face, that's not what he said, like, word for word, but he basically was like, if I had a live murder on television, I would air it. He's like, I don't think he's like, everything is good TV. And so that's kind of like where the premise came from. And he's like, anything is good for TV. Like, I'll air anything. And that's kind of where it started. And originally, I think Jerry Springer was like down for it. He was like, yeah, like, the ratings are there. Everyone is watching this show. So even if it's like, yeah, I married a horse, which then got, like, once it aired, it got taken off from, like, the later airing times of networks. But people are like, yeah, like, let's do it. And I think in the end, Jerry Springer, like, basically said, you know, I wouldn't have watched my show. In the beginning, he was kind of like, yeah, like, I'm for it or whatever. And people have said, you know, the thing is, you bring these people on, you coach them to be, like, having fights and having these, like, kind of life-changing altercations. And then there's no checkup afterwards. You don't see how they're doing. And the people on the show are like, well, we're not your therapist. Like, you decided to come onto the show. You've seen the show before. You know, you knew what you were getting into. But a lot of people don't.
I would say later on in the show, that's why I said, like, at one point it gets to the point where they just, like, as soon as somebody walks on, they know to fight somebody. So probably, like, later on in the show that they did know that was the entertainment, but I'm sure early on, I feel bad for those people because they probably just thought they were coming on to have, like, a discussion.
Yeah, and I think, like, you know, they showed people doing, like, the call things where it's like you're calling people to get them on the show. And it would be like, oh, do you have any crazy stories, any threesomes, infidelity? Like, that's what they're asking. And, you know, it would be like they were going up against Oprah. And Oprah would be like, that is not real television, whatever. Which Oprah has her own things and own issues or whatever. I mean, but, you know, people would say that, people were protesting Jerry Springer. And I think, like, it is interesting because, you know, in a world of free speech, it's like, yeah, if you want to put that on the air, if that's how people want to act, go ahead. But also at a certain point, it's the same thing with TikTok. Like, what is this doing for our society? In general, like, we are both creating it, and it is a reflection of us. So true. Yeah.
I never actually watched Jerry Springer. I always knew of it just as a kid, and I would know, like, how it looked, you know, like, what the appearance of it was. But I always think about, because, I mean, he could always at least make fun of himself. Like, he knew what his show was. Because one of my favorite, I loved the Austin Powers movies as a kid. I've probably said this before, but those movies raised me. But, like, There's like a scene where they have Dr. Evil on with like other evil people, like a Nazi and like a member of the KKK, and they're just like all like on the show, and then they have like the sons like come like Scott Evil comes on and they like get in like a physical. So that's my view of Jerry Springer.
Well, they literally had an episode where they had like the KKK on and they're interviewing KKK members, and then on the other side they have like members of the ACLU or something. Yeah. And it's like, and the guy's like, no one else is putting this on TV. Like people are saying like this is inappropriate, but like why aren't we having these discussions? So it's kind of like, well, I don't know, you are giving a platform to the KKK, so like that's a little uncomfortable.
And again, like you are
immoral.
Yes, and you're also instigating stuff by talking to them beforehand. And
you're not doing it because you're like, this is a great conversation for society. You're like, this is going to get great ratings. Yeah. But yeah, so I do think it's like an interesting documentary. I wish they had gone a little bit more into like Jerry Springer and kind of like the aftermath of it. But I think if you haven't watched Jerry Springer before, I think it's a good I think it is a good thing to have, you know, like to dissect this era of television in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah. There's documentaries about everything now. It's like actually really crazy. Like it's hard to keep track. That's why it's like, I heard there was one about him and I'm like, I just didn't care to watch it because I don't.
There's one on Avicii that just came out, I think. That,
I did see that.
Yeah, Chris and I have been wanting to watch.
Well, everybody, I mean, like we know this from like our jobs. Like everybody has a story. Yeah. So, I mean, but I'm just like, at some point it's like, okay, we need a documentary about every
Robbie Williams monkey biopic? No.
I think not. Yeah. But I think that about a lot of people.
The box office would agree.
Yes, but I think that about a lot of people. I'm like, we don't need a biopic of every single human.
Right. If you had a documentary of your life, let's say like right now they made a documentary of your life, like what do you think would be the focal point?
I don't know. But you're asking the wrong person because I'm very kind of like, I'm not anti-documentary, but I do just think like we don't need one about every single person. No. And it just feels like it's like always, there's just too many documentaries. Yeah. There's too many. Yeah. But that comes with the streaming services.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I think that's what it is. It's just there's just more opportunity for documentaries. Yeah. So.
But speaking of, jinx, awkward. You owe me a soda. You owe me a bottle of wine.
I just kidding. Did.
Yeah, you already brought one. Okay.
Yeah, I watched the Saturday. It's basically the 50th anniversary special SNL documentary that just came on Peacock. It's 4 episodes. So I was interested to see how they were going to do the 50th anniversary because obviously it's 50th. That's huge. And I remember when they did SNL 40, it was like a live show. And I actually really liked that because it was just like everybody, like every comedian, every famous person was on this special. And it was like a little chaotic, but it was also just like cool because like you saw everybody like, and they had like, you know, they had all like iconic sketches, like iconic former cast members like coming together and doing their famous sketches or whatever. And like, it was just cool. So I was curious how they would do the 50th, and it felt just a little bit like underwhelming to do a documentary. Yeah. And again, it was a 4-part documentary, but so they all came out at the same time, so I just kind of binged watched it. But the first episode, they were each about an hour, and the first episode was just sort of about basically auditioning. It was like all of the cast members talking about auditioning for SNL, and that includes the writers, because some of the writers auditioned, but then they ended up, you either like, if you get on SNL, it's like you either become a cast member or a writer. Right. And so they were all talking, and they also went over all the people who did audition who didn't get on, which is wild because it was like Jennifer Coolidge.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She would be like, great.
You would think so. But actually, one thing that they did that was interesting was they interviewed the talent agents, who they are the ones who they would scout people, and they would bring people to the audition. So they'd be like, oh, you know, it was kind of big on them too. Like that was a lot of pressure for them because they'd be like bringing people, and if like they didn't sell themselves well or whatever, then it was kind of on them. But she was like, this one lady was like, people just didn't get Jennifer Coolidge. Like, I couldn't get people to understand her, which is so funny because, like, I feel like now we just know her as this, like, iconic comedian, but, like, she didn't make it. Kevin Hart auditioned. He didn't get on. Jim Carrey auditioned for SNL, which they must have been kicking themselves later.
Jim Carrey is, like, the SNL blueprint. That's crazy.
I know. He was on In Living Color, but, like, he was not on SNL. And, like, it just, but maybe it just, I don't know. It just wasn't. Yeah. The timing just wasn't right. Jordan Peele auditioned. He didn't get it. So it's just like a lot of famous people. But that was kind of interesting to see all the auditions. But I felt like it was weird. I didn't think they went into enough about, like, the older seasons. Like, they didn't go into, like, yeah, like, I feel like it was mostly the more modern seasons.
Maybe they thought that's what people care about the most, or maybe because they have, like, the movie that just came out this year.
So we don't need to know too much. Yeah. But I don't know. I would have liked to have seen more about the first season. Like, I feel like they didn't talk about, like, Dan Aykroyd and, like, Gilda Radner too much. But they went into a lot of, like, the new cast and...
I saw something online where it's like a hot take, the first season of SNL is not the best season. Or the first cast is not the best cast.
Definitely not, no.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. I think we talked about it when we had a discussion about the movie, the Saturday Night movie, and we were talking about SNL. But I always say, like, I heard somebody say that, like, your favorite cast is always, like, the cast that was on when you were in middle school. Yeah. And I'm like, that's absolutely true for me because,
that's how I feel about period piece films.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like when you were in middle school?
Like the first one you see is always your favorite one. The one that, like, came out when you're, like, first getting into it. Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, yeah. And I definitely think that's true. But it was an interesting watch. So the second episode, though, I was telling you about this, like, they talk about the writers of SNL. Because that's, like, its own, people just don't think about them as
Nobody
much.
Ever thinks about the writers.
Nobody ever thinks about the writers.
I get on a soapbox about this all the time.
And we would know. But they asked all the writers, they were like, do you think that the writers are underappreciated on SNL? And every single one of them was like, oh, absolutely.
Yeah. They should be coming out at the end of the episode and bowing. They should be doing interviews.
They're not. Yeah.
They should be the face.
But it's funny for them because, like, so some of them are behind some of the most, like, famous sketches, but it's, like, not them that you can give credit to. You're thinking of, like, Will Ferrell or whoever. But they were saying, like, there's always, like, a thing where there's, like, a lot of pressure on them, too. And while there's, like, a lot of pressure on the cast members because they're actually, like, on TV and, like, performing it, the writers have to sit, like, they call it under the bleachers because they would sit under the bleachers with Lorne Michaels and watch each sketch as it was, like, on and hear Lorne Michaels as him, like, he would just sit there and just, like, make comments about, like, he'd be like, wow, are you really proud of this one? Like, he would, like,
oh my God.
Yeah, like, he would, like, you know, give live critiques of the sketch. And if it was bombing and nobody was laughing, they're having to sit there, like, and experience that.
Oh God, that's
during the dress rehearsal. And then during the live show, they would just be, like, getting drunk and eating pizza in a room because they're like, well, it's on TV now, like.
Yeah. But which honestly sounds like probably the worst and best. Like,
that part sounded bonding. Like the best. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I was telling you this too. I think I was, like, one of the writers, and I can't remember which one said this, but they were like, it's both, like, I had my highest highs and my lowest lows on SNL.
Yeah.
And which sounds just like a job where it's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It feels very much, it reminds me of, like, because, again, we say, like, we would know. You guys obviously know us as podcasters, but we are also writers in one form or another. We were also former journalists, and it feels like, you know, when you would do, like, election coverage or whatever, and it's like the writer's room, like, is buzzing, and then afterwards, like, everything's published, you're just eating pizza, and you're just like, yeah, it's 4 a.m.
Yeah. And Seth Meyers was saying, because he was the head writer on SNL for years before he, you know, became Seth Meyers before he was, like, on his show, and he was saying, like, it's my
head writer. Whew.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And he was like, it was my favorite job I've ever had, and, like, I'm so glad I don't work there anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's just, it would be such trauma bonding for sure.
Yeah.
But it was very, like, stressful to watch it because, again, they're like, they would work all week. I mean, they work, the way that an SNL episode works is, like, they start out Monday and they meet, like, the host, and then they, like, you know, they or whatever, like, they start preparing, and then they spend, like, all night writing the episode. Or sorry, all night writing sketches, hoping that it does well, because then the next day they do, like, the so they've been up until 4 a.m. and the next day they do the round table where they all sit at a round table with Lauren and the host, and they all, like, read the sketches. So those take, like, 5 hours.
And that's how you know it's a young person's game. You know, like, I don't think you see, granted you don't see a lot of the writers, but you don't, like, most of the people on SNL are fairly young, except for Lorne Michaels, understandably.
Yes.
And I don't know what he's doing to stay alive, but, you know, not stay alive, but, like, stay, like, active.
Yeah,
you know?
to still want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, but I think it is its own kind of drug.
They used to be on drugs. I mean, they used to, like, the writers, SNL was just, like, they were all just, like, coked up.
That's the 70s.
Yeah.
80s
I don't know.
and 90s.
I don't know how it looks now, but so it was interesting because the writers episode followed the Adebri. Sorry. that they followed her episode.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was interesting because
I didn't think her episode was that funny.
So I know. And so I was watching, because I think she's very funny. Like, I love her. But, like, I was watching some of the sketches, and it was just, like, it really did make me realize, like, I think everybody goes through this, is, like, everybody has their favorite SNL casts, and then, like, the newer ones, which people who are in, like, high school or whatever probably, like, love the current cast. But I just don't find them that funny.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really, it's very rare when I find, like, an episode funny. And there were a couple sketches from her episode that I actually watched, like, I think are funny, but, like, other ones that they were showing, and they were, like, they would show the writers.
They should do Ariana Grande. She's the only one who's, like, legitimately been funny to me as a guest.
Yeah, lately, yeah. And, I mean, they were showing, like, some of the sketches they were writing, and they were all laughing hysterically as they were working on them, or even at the table read, and they were performing, and I was like, I didn't laugh once. Like, I don't see how that's funny.
But it's probably an energy thing.
Probably. And also they're delirious because they've been working on it till 4 a.m. and they're all just kind of, you know, you're making each other laugh. Like, and so but then they would do that, and then they would pick sketches, and then they would all sit there and wait to see which sketches got picked. So if you were a writer or I guess a cast member, because they would write them too.
Oh my God, the anxiety.
The anxiety. And so then they would choose the sketches. Then they would do dress rehearsal on Saturday, and that's like before the live show.
Yeah.
And they would they're counting on, like, the audience of the dress rehearsal to see, like, what's going to go live. Because sometimes, like, what was funny to them at the table read is, like, it bombs on stage.
Yeah.
Or, like, during the dress rehearsal. Yeah. And so, like, right before, literally, like, the dress rehearsal is, like, a couple hours before the live show. And then they make those cuts right before the live show. So it's very stressful.
Again, I can't imagine Lorne Michaels doing this for the past 50 years of his life.
Very high anxiety. I will say, watching that Saturday Night movie, I loved the movie. Like, we talk about it all the time. Like, I loved the movie. But, like, I felt like the way they portrayed Lorne is not at all how I think
he's
him.
Probably very, like, hard to, like he, and maybe it's because it was the first episode, so he had to be, like, a little bit, like, kinder and, like, nicer and more, like, to the egos on stage. But I feel like he's probably cutting. Like, he's like, that's not funny.
Yeah, they gave him so much personality in that movie that I was like, again, maybe he was like that in the first season, but, like, I don't see that.
Yeah.
Even, and they go back to, like, the 80s, and he didn't even seem like that, you know?
Yeah.
Also, they show him in the 80s, and he has, like, grayish hair. Like, he looks kind of old
Probably.
then, too.
That's his job every week. That's crazy.
True. I mean, he could have just aged. But, I mean, I'm just saying, like, in the, like, it's however like many years since that. I was like, the way they portrayed him in the movie was, like, he was in his 20s.
It's like when you see, like, a president go in and they, like, are fresh-faced and you see them leaving. And they
like, remember Obama's hair was, like, gray by the time
I mean, still fine, but
yeah. I mean, 8 years, I guess, does, but 8 years of being
even
president.
4 years in, you're kind of just like, whew.
Yeah.
Which Lorne Michaels and the president are not, like, the same level of job, but it feels like
I mean, he keeps saying, I guess he is probably at one point he was close to retirement. He mentioned, like, Tina Fey would sort of be the person that he felt like was kind of
Which
understood.
feels very Succession-esque.
It does, and it also makes sense. I would guess, like, either Tina Fey or Seth Meyers.
Yeah.
But now he's like, I'm not leaving. So, but
which,
anyway.
Again, feels very Succession of just, like...
Yeah.
Like, I think Tina Fey and Seth Meyers are probably, like, Kendall and Shiv.
Yes. But Matthew and I were kind of laughing because during the second episode with the writers, like, felt, like, very dramatic. Like, the music just made it, like, the writers would get really upset if they were talking about, like, their sketches getting cut. And I was like, it's not that deep, y'all. Like, I understand. Like, I guess their jobs are kind of on the line.
Yeah.
But I felt like the music was making it so much more dramatic than it needed to be. And I was thinking, like, so one documentary that I love, it's on YouTube. It's just called Saturday Night, I think. It's James Franco actually directed it.
Oh.
And it was it was like him filming a week of the production of an SNL episode, and it was like in 2008. So, like, John Mulaney's still a writer, like, everybody's young. Yeah. It's like Bill Hader, Fred Armisen, and again, this is like my favorite cast.
Yeah,
so that's why I love it.
That is a good cast.
And I love it so much because it felt so real. Like, you're watching it in real time. No one is like playing anything up. Like, they're all just like it seems like a regular. Like, he's just following them around with a camera basically while they're literally like you're watching it in real time, and it just was. I felt like that documentary was actually more interesting than this one.
Interesting.
But this one was different because it was going into, like, the whole history of SNL, kind of, and, like, all of the different cast members. And whereas I felt like James Franco's documentary was more just, like, about the making of an SNL episode. But the third episode was literally just an episode on the Needs More Cowbell sketch.
Really?
Yeah, which I was like, I guess it is their most successful sketch. But
it is very funny. I liked it.
It's very funny, but I was like, I felt like they could have just done an episode on the most iconic sketches and kind of done that. But it was like, I skipped it because I was like, I don't need to see an entire episode on just cowbell like that. And episode 4 was like very weird because it focused on the 11th season, which was like a super weird season because I guess what happened was Lorne Michaels had left the show for like 5 years. He was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And he like left, and they kind of go into all that. So it was like after 5 years of not being on the show, during which the show was actually canceled at one point.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then he came back for the 11th season with a whole new cast. And it was like the cast included Robert Downey Jr. This was in the 80s. So it was like Robert Downey Jr., Joan Cusack, who I don't think I even knew Joan Cusack was a comedian. Like I just think of her as an actor. Yeah. And then who else? John Lovitz and Anthony Michael Hall, who like from The Breakfast Club. He was literally 17.
Wow.
And so he comes back with this cast. It was like super weird. It was like a total failure.
Yeah.
Madonna hosted the first episode, and it was like very like the sketches it didn't feel very SNL. It felt like very dark and just kind of like conceptual, like just like I don't know. It was like a very like experimental season.
Yeah.
It bombed. Like everybody hated it. Damon Wayans was on the season 2, but he quit halfway through.
Oh.
Yeah, he like wanted to be off the show. He didn't quit. He purposefully got fired by like doing an offensive sketch. So Lorne literally fired him as he was like leaving the stage.
Oh, wow.
So it was just like a messy season. It was super weird. And it was interesting because like and at the end, I think like all of the cast was gone at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Like they were just like, it was just like known for being really bad.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That was the last episode that they focused on. And I felt like, they surely could have done more episodes of this documentary.
Yeah.
You know, it was only 4. So it was just kind of
There's
weird.
not more coming out?
Nope. I looked up because I kept looking it up, and it was just like all 4 episodes of the 50th special are out on Peacock. And I was like, so they're going to end on the weird 11th season?
That is weird.
So it was just I felt like kind of underwhelmed for like a 50th anniversary special.
Yeah.
Like there should have been more.
And I feel like maybe because they did the 40th one, they probably did a lot of stuff for the 40th. And, you know, I get like nothing's guaranteed that they're going to get to the 50th, but then they're like, oh shit, well, we did that in the 40th.
I guess but I feel like they could have just done that again and just had a huge special.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought that was a weird, it was some episodes were interesting. But...
Yeah. Thinking of Lorne Michaels is also interesting because you think about now, it's like, yeah, I created SNL, like I created this literally iconic cultural touchstone of the past, like most people's lives, but like throughout it, like season 11, you don't know that. You're like, yeah, like it's been successful, but you don't know how successful it is. By now, he probably knows. But
well, they also didn't remember in the Saturday Night movie, they kept making like comments like, "What is this show?" And like no one knew. I feel like even then they kind of still weren't sure of themselves yet.
Yeah. Took 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting. I feel like also Lorne Michaels was like barely interviewed. So it just had an overall kind of weird vibe.
Yeah.
I guess there's so many people from SNL that it's like, it'd be hard to like give a lot of attention to a lot of people.
It'd need to be like the OJ documentary, like a 10-episode deep dive into like the cultural, political history behind it.
Right? Like 4
is weird. At least 5.
At least 5. And don't end on like a sour note. Like,
I think it also needs to be done by like an organization separate from
Peacock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually sweet though. In the first I think the first one was probably the best because it showed like all their auditions, and you kind of learn about like they talk about Amy Poehler. Her audition was just like a formality because they already knew she was gonna come on.
Really?
And it was cute to watch like all of them because they had never seen their auditions before. Yeah. So all these famous people. So like Amy Poehler, Bowen Yang. I mean, he's kind of more new, but like. They had never seen their audition, so they're watching it for the first time. And, like, Amy Poehler was really nervous to watch her. She was like, I don't want to watch it.
I wouldn't.
No. And, like, some of them were just, like, it's just cute. Like, they were just, like, weird. But, like, some of them got really emotional. Like, I don't know if you know who Heidi Gardner is, but she's on the new... She's been on there for, like, a while now.
She's got huge eyes.
Yeah, I love her. She's very funny. But she started crying because she was just like... I'm just so proud of her. Like, of that girl that, like, went and auditioned, you know, like,
because it is a huge thing.
Yeah, she made, like, she was, like, a hairdresser before. She wasn't even a comedian. She just decided she wanted to do this.
Really?
And, yeah, and she just, like, put herself out there, and she was just, like, wow, I'm so proud of her. It was just cute to watch, so it was interesting.
Well,
but
I definitely will give it a watch because I love SNL. I love the history of it and all that, but...
I love SNL, too, and I just would have wanted a little bit more.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, I think
that's all we have for you guys this week.
Yeah.
As always, follow us on Instagram at Poppin In Podcast. You can see our out of context posts. You can see our timestamps, which are also listed in the description of this episode. I guess that probably would have been useful to know at the top of the episode, but oh well, here you are. Like, subscribe, rate, and review as always. Again, unless you hated this, then please don't. And we'll see you next time. Bye.